Hi there, this is Warbird66 and today's topic is the Freewing's F-35. And no, not the new one, I'm talking about the older version 2. This bird was on my wish list for a while, so when Freewing had it on a special offer, I ordered one. And yes, I know, the new one looks a little bit more like the real thing and is also a little bit faster. But that doesn't mean that this plane is not interesting. It actually has a few nice features that I would like to talk about. And well, it's also a little bit cheaper than the new one. I spent less than 190 euros for this one. And not to forget, we have to talk about the flaws of this plane. But let's talk about the good stuff first. One of the first things I would like to mention is the material of which it is built. It's an EPS plane, which some of you might think is a disadvantage. But EPS is a lot lighter than other foam types, and lightweight is never a wrong thing for an EDF jet. The next feature I would like to mention is the vektor thrust system this plane is equipped with. It is not a feature I was looking for, but it is a nice thing to have, and a unique one too. Not many planes come with such a system, and this allows you to do really crazy things when you set it up right. The next thing I would like to address is the drive system. This jet comes with a 12-blade 70mm EDF system, which has an awesome sound, even on 4S. And its power output is actually not that bad. The lightweight of the plane and the powerful drive system allows you to take off from the ground easily. That means you can expect to rotate after about 15 meters on a hard surface or about 40 meters on a short grass field. After a short 30 to 40 degrees climb out to its flight level, you can expect close to 4 minutes of flight time if you manage your throttle right. That is with a 2200 mAh 4S battery, of course. Which unfortunately brings us straight to one of the first negatives on this plane. The battery compartment. Not only is the battery compartment on the underside of the plane, it is also only just big enough to hold the mentioned 2200 mAh 4S battery. So the only way to use a bigger battery on this plane to extend your flight time is to use your X-Acto knife first and install a new battery bay. Not an impossible task. I did it on my F-22 a short while ago, but it takes a lot of work and also some practice. So that is not for everyone. The last thing I have a problem with is the color scheme. Well, it looks good, but a plane that is completely gray is very, very hard to see in the sky. And EDFs tend to get really small really quick, which is not a good thing. So I wish Freewing would have chosen a different color scheme for this plane. And that goes for the new one too actually, which is also mostly gray. And please don't get me wrong here, I really like military paint schemes on my planes. But still I have to see them when I fly them. But this should be enough for now. Let's see what this thing can do on the runway. And I hope you guys don't mind that I skipped the building part completely. It is mostly because it is almost a joke. This thing goes together with a little bit epoxy in like under an hour, and that is including coffee breaks. As usual with a new plane, I start with a little taxiing test on the field to see how she steers and behaves while going closer and closer to takeoff speed. This thing became kind of a habit over the years and saved me a lot of headaches in the long run. As you can see in the video, the F-35 runs pretty straight, even on a not really perfect field. But you can also see that she jumps a little from left to right, which is mostly because that her main landing struts have no suspension. which is not really a must at this weight class, but of course it would be a nice feature to have. For that reason I already secured a few lightweight landing struts with trailing wheels, but that is a story for a later video. I was actually pretty happy with the result of the taxing test. The only thing I was not really happy with was the color scheme. I noticed how hard it was to really see the plane, and here it was only a few meters away, so I decided to postpone the maiden flight and do some paintwork first. A few white markings on the control surfaces are always helpful in situations like that. Only a few days later I got lucky and we had perfect conditions for a maiden flight, so I went out to the field. For my maiden flight I reduced Freewing's recommended control throws even a bit more because jets are usually very responsive. I put in a fresh battery and with the timer set to about 3 minutes I took off. Of course I had to trim her a little first, but a few clicks elevator and aileron was all she needs. I found the F-35 to be a very well behaved plane. The only tendency I noticed, and that was not really a bad one, was that the plane used to drop the nose a little in tight turns, but of course you can easily correct that with a rudder, or in case of the F-35, the thrust vectoring system. With a light wing load this plane is super floaty, so you can easily prolong your flight time with a few powerless glides in between. Power on or off, the controls are always very direct and very responsive. And of course both these factors makes it really easy to land the F-35. Just remember to shut down your engine a little bit earlier and give her a really wide turn for the landing approach, so the plane can reduce her altitude on its own. Pushing her nose down for a landing is not a good idea. Because this plane has no flaps, she only gets faster, and with more speed this super floaty plane gets more lift. And if you want a really slow landing you can always increase the angle of attack, which works really well on this plane. Even a real high alpha landing is a little bit tricky to master. If you have enough practice on the sticks, you can basically land this thing on a dime, or a euro if you will. And if you really want to squeeze the last bit of maneuvering out of this plane, you can always install a gyro system, like AS3X or plus GX3, depending on what kind of RX system you are flying with, of course. So even this is only a 4S setup, and this plane lacks a little bit of speed, at least compared to a 6S setup. I would say this plane has still a lot to offer. And if you don't mind a little bit of extra work, you can put a few hours into a new battery bay and maybe a new paint job. So you can turn an already good plane into an awesome one. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed my little video about this old new plane. And of course, as always, if you have a question about the plane or flying in general, please leave a comment below. Have fun at the flying field. Warbird Fan 66 out.